Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. Now in this lesson I'll be taking you through the Excel aggregate function. Now the aggregate function returns the result of an aggregate calculation like the sum, the count, the marks and all others like that. And of course the aggregate function is like an army on its own because it has other 19 functions that are inbuilt in that you can use, and this can be used. I'll show you that if you actually know how to use the aggregate function, it can be used to do up to 70 to 90% of all the calculation that you do with Excel. So let's just go into the lesson. And the aggregate function, you can actually get it if you are using Excel from 2010 upward. If you want to use the aggregate function, there are two major arguments. Let's take a look at the argument. We say equals to aggregate. Now let me just take this and put it up where you can see it. Now there are two basic arguments. You have the array and then you have the option, the reference options. All of that are just optional, so these are just the options. And of course in the array function you have the number, the function number, which is from 1 to 19. You can see all these functions, you can use them with the aggregate function, starting from the average 1 and up to 19. And then the options are just 7. I'm going to show you the options. Let me just show you the option once and for all. So let's say I want to do my sum, and then I press my comma 3. You see the options ranging from 0 to 7. So this is the options that is available, and let's go. Now if you are working with Excel, you will notice that why the aggregate function is more useful is because with your normal sum, average and max, you can do it when you have data like this, because it actually contains some errors, and that's one of the beauty of the aggregate function, because it has the ability to ignore errors and return your result. Now we can cover all the functions there in one lesson, so I'll just be covering this basic function of the aggregate functions. Let's go. Now the first function we are going to cover is the sum function. Now you can use the aggregate function to calculate summation. Now we have this data, and then we want to calculate our total, say the sum, but because of these error values here, we can't use the normal sum. We say sum, and then say sum, and then you take this, it gives you an error. So there's no way your normal summation can work with it. Well, with the aggregate function, you can actually work around it. So let's go. Say equals to aggregate. Now press your tab, and then you now have your argument. So the function norm is that what do we want to calculate? We want to calculate the sum. And if you look at this long list, the sum is a number 9. So you can either double click on it or just enter the stuff manually. So I'll just press 9 on my keyboard, that's for sum, and then I'll press my comma, and then you have the options. So the option is ranging from 0 to 7. So in this case, you now look at the best option that suits what the result that you actually want to achieve. Now in this case, if I choose ignore nothing, that's not the option that I'm looking for. Ignore hidden row, that's not the option I'm looking for. Then we have 6 that says ignore error values. I can pick 6, but if I pick 6, now whenever I decide to maybe filter, for example, let me pick 6 and then comma, and then it says the other condition. I put it this way, and then I have value. So if I decide to filter my data, let's say I want to remove direct, and I say okay, I still have my results, nothing changes. So that's not what I want. So let me just return it to the normal result. So in this case, I'm not going to pick 6. I'll come to my formula and then I'll pick 7 that says ignore hidden rows and error values. Then I'll press enter. So anytime I apply filter, then you see that it actually is dynamic. It gives me the result that I actually want to see. So that is that about that, and then we'll go back to our normal result. So for average, I want to find it, say equals to aggregate, and then look for your list. The result we want to achieve is the average. Press 1 and then comma, and then you have a long list, the options, and then the one that best suited what we are actually working on is the number 7 that say ignore hidden rows and error values. So I'll put in 7 and then I'll put in the array, and then I'll press enter, and then I have the average. Now the mass equals to aggregate. Let's calculate the max, and then what are we looking for? The max, which is 4, and then comma. We also want to say ignore hidden rows and columns, because that is actually the best that suited what we are doing. So say 7, that's the value, and then we'll provide the array, and then that is the maximum value in this array. And if we look at it, 47,000 is actually the highest, 47. Then we can find the mean. No, sorry, yeah, the mean, say equals to aggregate, and then we want to find mean, which is 5. The function norm is 5, and then 7 for ignore hidden rows or columns and error values, and then we simply select this, and then we have this is the minimum value in my data set, that is this is the value, the minimum. And then for large, I'll simply say equals to aggregate, and then what we want to calculate. Now one thing that you should remember is that now in the aggregate function 1 to 11 are actually the reference function. 1 to 11 are actually the reference function. Now from 14 to 19 they are array function. Now if you look at where we have our large and small, they're actually 14, 15. So these are array functions. Now if you want to use them, there are additional argument that you have to provide, like the k function, the k argument. Now let's see how it works. So we want to actually get the large from this data set, and then we say 14, that's the norm function, the function norm, and then we also ignore hidden rows and column 7, and then the array, and then we have additional argument, which is the k argument. That is, for example, I want to find the largest number in this data set. It may be the second largest number, it may be the 5th largest number, it may be any. So I have to provide this argument, which is the k argument. So this time around, I want to find the 3rd largest value in this list. So I'll just put in 3 and then I'll press enter. So 28,701 is actually the 3rd largest number. And if you look at it truly, this is the largest number for 7,000. This is the second largest number, 32,000, and then 28,000. This 28,000, this value is actually the 3rd largest number. So that is that, because large, small, they are actually array functions. And then find the mean, the smallest, you say aggregate, and then you look for where you have the small, which is 15, and then you ignore the hidden rows and you select your array, and then comma, and then the k argument. This time around we can find the smallest value in the number, we can find the second can find the fifth, you can find it. So this time let me find the fifth smallest number in the array. So press enter, and there you see that this is the fifth smallest number. Now with the aggregate function, even though we have errors in our values, we are able to return all our value with your normal calculations, the sum, the average, the mean. There's no way you can return these values. That's one of the beauty of the aggregate function, because it has the ability to ignore rows, the rows, and then error values, and still give you your results. So it is such dynamic in such a way that if I apply filter, let's say I remove this, I calculate, so it will automatically adjust itself to what actually needed. That's the beauty of the average function. Please check it out. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.